Welcome to the Sherdog Radio Network preview for UFC Fight Night 266, Bautista versus Oliveira, also known as UFC Vegas 113. I'm your host, Ben Duffy of Sherdog.com, and with me, as usual, is Keith Schillen, the executive producer of the Sherdog Radio Network. Keith, how you doing today?
I'm doing good. Back to finally not a numbered event, so kind of back to norm. But yeah, how you doing?
I'm doing all right, and back to norm in one sense, but this is the first Apex UFC event of the new Paramount Plus era of the new year. We'll kind of see how many of those we end up with this year. You know, hopefully it's not, 15 or 20, but tell me about this card. We got 12 fights lined up here. Tell me what your thoughts are on the overall quality of the card.
Yeah, I don't think it's a bad card at all. I think it's fairly deep with talent. It is, obviously I'm grading this on, an Apex card level. And the one thing I feel like it's missing like a traditional main event that we would normally get. But I feel like we have like a bunch of co-main events. I think the main event in this one, Bautista and Oliveira, that seems like usually would be like a co-main event. You have Almeida fight that could be a co-main event. The Horiguchi fight could be a co-main event. So I feel like we have a bunch of those. If we had, I don't know, Yair Rodriguez going against Aljamain Sterling, I'd probably give this card an A-.
Okay, that's fair. And you mentioned something like Yair versus Aljamain Sterling. That would be main event quality kind of for the name value. You've got an ex-champ against a longtime star. But in terms of quality, even if that fight was the headliner, Horiguchi's probably still the guy in the card that's closest to a title shot if he wins on Saturday.
Yeah, absolutely.
So true. Which if I have an Apex card, a Fight Night card, they're all kind of not free cable, but basic cable cards. If I get one of those cards with one potential title eliminator on it, that's a pretty good sign right off the bat. I do agree though that there's it could use like a name value sizzle fight at the top.
Yeah, so I give this card like a B- maybe. Like I'm pretty happy with it.
Same here. I think I'd give it a straight B. Outside of the obvious ones, say, the top two fights on the card, what are you most excited to see on Saturday?
So there's actually a lot of fights that I think are pretty even and fun. There's like, this little gap where I'm like, oh, this gets kind of rough. But if I only could pick one fight, I'm going to go with Basharat versus Matsumoto. I think that's a real banger. Those two guys I'm pretty high on. I mean, that's high up the card, but that's a really good fight.
It's a fantastic fight. It's a couple of bantamweight contenders, 26 and 28 years old, respectively, 3-1 and 5-0 in the UFC, respectively. I'm with you on that one. The both guys in that fight have a ton of upside in the division going forward, and that's what we want to see on these cards.
And Matsumoto, he's 3-1. I think he should be 4-0. I thought he'd be Rob Font.
And there you go.
I might be in the minority on that one, but still, either way, 3-1, 4-0, like that's a great fight.
Mm-hmm. Totally agreed. Any other general thoughts on this one before we jump into these prelims?
No, let's do it.
All right. First fight out of the gate at UFC Vegas 113 is a women's bantamweight contest between Klaudia Szygula and Priscila Cachoeira. Szygula, the 27-year-old Pole, is 7-2 overall. She's 1-1 in the UFC. She made her debut back in November of 2024, getting knocked out in the second round by an overweight Melissa Mullins, came back last June at UFC on ABC Hill versus Roundtree, and picked up a unanimous decision over Irina Alexieva. She'll look to make it 2 in a row against Cachoeira. 37-year-old Brazilian is 13-7 overall, 5-7 in the UFC, 1-1 since moving up to bantamweight. She made her bantamweight debut last March, knocking out Josiane Nunes in the first round, then came back in August and got knocked out herself in the first round by Jocelyn Edwards. So she's looking to get back in the win column as well. Your favorite in this one, Keith, is -140, underdog +115. Who are they?
I'll say Cachoeira is the favorite.
It's actually Szygula. Klaudia Szygula plus one or minus 140. Priscila Cachoeira plus 115. I still have some remote hope for Klaudia Szygula. She's young. I mean, 27 at women's bantamweight is like 27 at men's light heavyweight. You might have another decade ahead of you to continue competing at a relatively high level. She is a legit bantamweight in terms of just her build, her physique. Like she's a big woman, decent athlete. So I still have a certain amount of hope for her, but she has not been a lights out performer since arriving in the UFC. I've got to say it's been a little bit of a disappointment. Thus far, she's fought two women who are both kind of big bodied bantamweights that have wanted to crowd her, get on the inside, take her down. I mean, too big in the case of Mullins, who blew weight, but then, Alexieva's the huge Russian Ronda thing. Against Mullins, Szygula had trouble stopping the takedown. And again, we can attribute some of that to her making a UFC debut after being on the shelf for a year, the kind of step up in competition, octagon jitters. Again, opponent missed weight. She came back against Alexieva and she was more competitive, but she still hasn't turned into the woman that I thought she might become when you look at her regional tape in Europe, like a big bodied woman who could kind of keep other women at her preferred range and hammer them with big blows. I think her chance to do that is going to be here against Cachoeira. I like Cachoeira's decision to move up to bantamweight from flyweight. It probably is going to prolong the experiment a little more, but ultimately, while Cachoeira has improved some across her UFC run, the fights she's lost haven't been because she wasn't big enough. It's because she's just not that good. That's about the best way I can put it. Cachoeira definitely is going to come forward. She's going to throw good volume. She throws pretty hard. Obviously, enough of that power has carried up to the new weight class that at least she was able to plunk Josiane Nunes, even if Nunes is like a 5'1" bantamweight. But I see this as a fight where Cachoeira is going to come forward, swinging big, trying to get her hands on Szygula. Cachoeira is good at trying to turn things to the clinch, look for sneaky takedowns in the middle of her striking. My guess here is that she's not going to be able to get it done, and that both women are going to kind of gravitate towards the same kind of fight. I think a lot of this fight's going to take place from boxing range to phone booth range, just in the clinch. And Szygula, just by being 10 years younger, a little bigger naturally, and the fighter on the rise where Cachoeira has kind of plateaued, I think Szygula probably just wins at least 2 rounds out of 3 in an ugly fight.
Szygula being in a fight might take away the ugliness for other reasons, but I shouldn't say that because I'm not saying Cachoeira is an ugly woman. I will say that
she is.
She can fight ugly.
I mean, I was wishing she'd gouge my eyes out in that one fight.
Yeah, that was the first thing I was going to bring up. Is that I will not take it out of my notes that she once tried gouging out Jillian Robinson's eyes. That's like the sweetest woman in the UFC. She, what we got with Cachoeira. She's been in the UFC long enough. She's on the gas. The second goes. I agree with you. I think moving up in weight is actually going to help her style because she's one who wants to, go all out, throw big bombs. I think a little more, a little more hydration is going to help her. I actually think it's also a shallower, less talented overall division.
Oh yeah.
She wants to get in the pocket. She wants to unload big, massive shots. She throws some mean hooks. She can be extremely wild. I mean, she just loves biting down on the mouthpiece and throwing bombs. She does have very good power, and I'm expecting the power to go with her up to 135. And when I say that like relative to women's MMA, she has a bunch of KOs already in the UFC. The problem is she's all offense and no defense. I mean, she drops her hands. She keeps her chin high. She's extremely hittable. She can sneak in a takedown, but I definitely wouldn't call her a wrestler. But if she gets the fight to the ground, she actually has pretty good top control. She defensively, she's a bad defensive wrestler, but she's hard to hold down. She is one thing about her, she's super tough. Like, she's been in a bunch of fights in the UFC where she's taken a beating and she's not giving up. I mean, I know she was just knocked out by Jocelyn Edwards, but you know how I feel. I think Jocelyn Edwards is sneaky good. I think she's actually really underrated. Klaudia Szygula, I think your assessment is fair. She's a Muay Thai striker. I thought she did. I agree with you. I think she looked much better, even in the striking against Oleksiejczuk in her second fight. She looked a lot more comfortable. Her punches were tighter in the second fight than she was in the first fight. But she's still your traditional Muay Thai style, very flat-footed, stationary. She tends to lack power because she throws a lot of arm punches. She will close the distance and work in the clinch. She likes to, grind on her opponents there. She will try a takedown, but she isn't very good at it. Her takedown defense, as you mentioned, is awful. She does have 2 subs on her record, but I would definitely not categorize her as a submission artist. She has some decent ground and pound if she ends up on top, but her get up game is horrendous. I mean, I started to get headlocked a bunch of times in the regional scene, so it's hard to have confidence in Cachoeira because she has so many holes defensively, especially with her takedown defense. But you seem higher on Szygula than I am. I don't believe in her at all. So you asked me who I thought the betting favorite was. I thought Cachoeira was, and I'm not high on her, but I guess I'm going with the upset. I say Cachoeira gets in her face, makes this a brawl. I think Cachoeira is going to clip her and hurt her early. She might get a takedown. She could hurt her on the ground too. I'm going to say Cachoeira does what she does. I'm going to say Cachoeira wins by first round TKO.
All right. We have some disagreement right out of the gate at UFC Vegas 113.
I feel dirty picking Cachoeira. Just leave that in. Leave it in.
Next up on the UFC Fight Night 266 undercard, Muin Gafurov takes on Jakub Wiklacz, who still cannot believe that he gets to fight a different person every time out in the UFC. Gafurov, the 29-year-old from Tajikistan, is 20-6 overall. He is 2-2 since joining the UFC out of Season 5 of Dana White's Contender Series, where he lost and was not signed, but picked up a couple more wins regionally and then joined the UFC a year or two later. He lost his first 2 fights in the UFC. He is now on a 2-fight win streak. He fought most recently almost exactly a year ago, picking up a unanimous decision over Rinya Nakamura. He would love to make it 3 in a row here against Wiklacz. 29-year-old from Poland is 17-3-2 overall. He is 1-0 since joining the UFC out of KSW, where, as I alluded, he finished a MMA record 5-fight rivalry with Sebastian Šibiš. He made his UFC debut at UFC 320 back in October, where he picked up a split decision over new Ryzen featherweight talent Patrick Patchy Mix. He'll look for his first win against somebody still on UFC roster on Saturday. Keith, this is an actual pick'em. Gafurov is -115, Wiklacz around -105, but neither of them is available in plus money, so this is an actual pick'em. Let me know what you think of this fight and who you think gets it done.
Yeah, first of all, I'm surprised it's this low on the card, especially after Wiklacz just picked up a huge win in his last fight. I mean, there's some ugly fights that's above this card coming up. So Wiklacz, he's got a little bit of a hype from the hardcores, and not from your. Yeah. Nobody on this card has buzz from casuals, but that's kind of what's missing on this card. But a lot of people like him. He's on the feet. He's a high output striker. Just kind of marches down his foes, throws some nice straight shots. He throws hard. The problem sometimes he'll throw too hard and overthrow his shots, which leaves him open to be countered. Defensively, he pillars, and I don't like that. And he's been hurt a lot in a lot of fights. He likes to kick. He likes teep kicks. He has a quick high kick. He doesn't check leg kicks though. He will look to wrestle, but I would consider him more of like a scrambler, like a jiu-jitsu, like kind of like a Paddy Pimblett type situation where he just wants to get a scramble going, or more like a Tony Ferguson kind of style. But if he gets to fight to the ground, he's pretty slick down there. He moves to a better position. He's got good ground and pound. He's a massive submission threat. He's got 10 subs on his record. He has an insanely good guillotine choke. Something that with Gafurov's style of wrestling, that's something that Wiklacz by first round submission. It wouldn't be shocking because I guess he would just jump into something. Defensively, he's a bad defensive wrestler, but he will hit sweeps off his back, and he's got good cardio if this goes deep. Gafurov, another guy I like. He's well-rounded. He's a pressure striker. He's constantly moving forward, throwing tons of power punches. He hits hard. Now you might not notice it because you just stare at this weird patch of hair on his back that just stands out. Like it just always distracts me. But he really sits on his punches. He can get a little wild with his strikes, which would be could set up takedowns for Wiklacz. But he'll wing his overhand right. He's got a wing and left hook. He hits with them. They connect. He can put you out. He throws a lot of kicks, though often he won't set him up. He loves spinning attacks. He's a good wrestler. He's good at following his wild strikes, just kind of get the person to bring their hands up, then he's shooting underneath it. Good at winning scrambles. He's a 2-time world champion in combat sambo, which to me means more than like being a jiu-jitsu world champion. He has 7 subs on his record. He though he was subbed by Nurmagomedov, but when he's on top, he has that combat sambo style. He reminds me of like a Fedor and just the style where he whips his ground and pound. If you put him on his back, he will struggle a little bit, but he has good cardio. So I think this fight should be a really fun, high output fight. I like both guys. I think that we're gonna have some wild exchanges everywhere on the feet, on the ground. I'm glad that it's a pick 'em because I do think it's hard. I feel like Wiklacz is the one that would more capitalize on a mistake. But I also feel like Gafurov's the one who can more dictate like his will if he wants to be the top side grappler. And because of that, I'm gonna go with Gafurov. I think he has the wrestling advantage. I'm gonna say that's really close. I think we'd have some really fun, wild scrambles where guys have to jump out of submissions and everything. I'm gonna say Gafurov wins. I'm gonna say super close. I'll go with the betting lines. I'm gonna say split decision.
I see this one exactly the same way you do, and it pains me a little bit to say that because if Wiklacz wins, it's probably a more fun fight to watch. If Wiklacz wins, Gafurov is shooting takedowns on him, and Wiklacz is using the guillotine to threaten him, sweep the top position. We're getting these mad scrambles. If Gafurov wins, he's hitting those takedowns, kind of parking in top position, staying busy. I'm not saying it's some like lay and pray thing, but just it's a much more methodical type performance. But I see it the same way you do. I'm still pretty high on Wiklacz. When he joined the UFC, and I had been keeping up with his career almost by default because I edit the KSW previews for Sean Sheehan, so I'm kind of keeping up with what he's been doing since his last fight. I was surprised nonetheless to realize he was still just 28 when he joined the UFC. I see plenty of upside in him, and even if he loses here, just kind of gets bullied and parked on top of by a physically strong, fundamentally sound wrestler like Gafurov, I think Wiklacz is far from a done deal in this division, but I see this one the same way you do. Fun fight, probably back and forth. Could definitely see this one being a splitter. Give me Gafurov to win a decision, probably by winning 2-1. Women's flyweights hit the cage next at UFC Fight Night 266 as Wang takes on Eduarda Moura. Wang, the 33-year-old from China, is 8-1 overall. She's 4-1 in the UFC, and she is on a 2-fight win streak since her shocking loss to Gabriela Fernandez a little over a year ago. She fought twice last year, winning a unanimous decision over Bruna, Brazil in February, and another unanimous decision over Ariane Lipski in June. She will look to make it 3 in a row here and kind of quietly insert herself into the outskirts of the title picture in a division starving for new contenders against Moura. The 31-year-old Brazilian is 12-1 overall, 3-1 since joining the UFC out of Season 7 of Dana White's Contender Series. She is on a 2-fight win streak as well. She fought just once last year. It was at UFC on ESPN Lewis versus Teixeira in July, where she won a unanimous decision over Lauren Murphy. Odds on this one favor Wang heavily. She is minus 350, Moura plus 280 as your underdog. Keith, Wang came to the UFC with a certain amount of hype. She is a Chinese national, a world Wushu Sanda champion. She came to the UFC with a short but undefeated record. She has the whole Joker persona.
Yeah.
The results have been a mixed bag.
Yeah.
How do you feel about either of these women in a division that, kind of like I said, is dying for some new faces to kind of break free of the pack?
You forgot the most important. She has listeners saying, "Everybody Wang Cong tonight."
Is everybody going to be saying Wang Cong on Saturday?
Which is an all-time great comment.
It's so good.
Shout out to whoever. It was probably like Ninja Kitty. I don't know who said it, but it was whoever did. It was great. Wang Cong, yeah, she's super fun. She's fun to watch. Very explosive. She's a great striker. Marches down her foe. She would. It's funny because she's explosive, but she's a little flat-footed and plodding. But when she lets her hands go, she's a good kickboxer, quick hands. She's accurate. She gets into the pocket and she loves brawling. She hits really hard. I mean, her last 2 fights were unanimous decision wins, but I mean, she easily could have knocked both of those females out. She draws a lot of power because she really sits on her punches. Very like, I know it's kind of like cheap to go with like Asian and Asian, but very like Takanori Gomi, how she like her stance and everything, kind of whips her shots at her. Her walk-off knockout of Victoria Leonardo was absolutely fantastic. You don't see that a lot in women's MMA. Now she can load up a lot, like a Takanori Gomi does, or did, I should say. She mixes punches and kicks together well. She has a big kicking game, something that Gomi really didn't have. Great high kick, nice calf kicks. She doesn't move her head that much. She does keep her chin a little too high for my liking. She's also open to leg kicks herself because she has that like wide base. She will, she has that wushu style, so they will sneak in takedowns. But I definitely wouldn't say she's a good wrestler. She's better like catching a kick and just, tripping someone to the ground that way. I wouldn't call her a submission threat. She did get a, road to the UFC, got a submission on that, but she was subbed by Gabriel Fernandez in her loss. Moura, the thing that stands out for Moura, she's big for the weight class. She's fairly well-rounded too. She likes to bring the fight to her opponent. She works behind a good jab. She also has some good power. She needs to clean up her defense a little bit. She keeps her chin too high. She got a big win by beating Lauren Murphy, but I thought she just looked okay in that fight. She threw a lot of too many single strikes for a fight that was supposed to be a little bit of like passing of the torch or kind of building her up. I don't think it really brought a lot of buzz to her as it should have. She likes to press forward. She doesn't want to work from distance. Her grappling, she's a threat with her grappling, and that opens up opportunities for her striking. I'd say she's a solid wrestler. She's constantly shooting for takedowns, nice entries, good top control. Showed incredible ground and pound on the Contender Series. I've seen us get sweeps off her back. She also is a submission threat. She showed good submission defense against Lauren Murphy, who's a pretty underrated grappler herself. The big issue is she has gassed in the past. She gassed against Denise Gomez. She gassed a little against Lauren Murphy. Her cardio was better against Veronica Hardy, but sandwiched in between 2 times where her cardio was worrisome. This is a really fun style of match. I think the line is too big because of Moura's threat of takedowns. On the feet, Wang, I still think Wang has a big advantage. On the ground, I actually would favor Moura a little bit on the ground. I think it's going to be fun to see Wang have to like stop some takedowns, show off her takedown defense. But that said, she's still explosive. She still hits really hard. I don't think she's going to get the knockout. She could, especially maybe something late, but I'm going to say she wins. I'll say she wins by unanimous decision.
Yeah, I like the breakdown there, and I agree that it's a little concerning that Moura's slowed down late in fights, and I think that's attributable to her being a big woman for the division, having a good amount of muscle on her frame, and fighting at a pretty high pace. Yeah, Wang's one career loss to this point was her getting tapped out, but it's worth noting that it was set up by her getting just absolutely clocked with a head kick.
Yeah, that's true.
So on the one hand, it's good because it's in a fight that she was otherwise well in control of. It was Sherdog's upset of the year in 2024 when Gabriela Fernandez crushed her because she was like a minus 1,200 favorite in that fight. So it's, a little concerning that despite all of her striking accolades, she got lanced with a clean head kick by somebody that's a much less decorated striker. But outside of that, she's looked pretty solid against her opposition. I'm with you in that this fight should be closer on the lines than it is. I lean towards Wang as well, but you can see all the ways an upset might come. Like, Moura is aggressive and hits really hard. She could clip her with something. If it goes to the ground while they're both still fresh, Moura's a very good offensive grappler and could do some work there. But I see this one basically the same way you do. Wang by decision. Would not be surprised to see her in a bit of danger here and there, but I think she gets it done. Men's bantamweights take the cage next at UFC Vegas 113 as Said Nurmagomedov squares off against Javid Basharat. Nurmagomedov, the 33-year-old Dagestani, is 18-5 overall. He is 7-4 in the UFC and has lost 3 of his last 4, including his last 2. He fought twice last year, losing to Vinicius Oliveira, whom we'll be talking about later, in February, then coming back and losing to Bryce Mitchell by unanimous decision at UFC on ABC Whitaker versus De Ridder in July. Potentially fighting for his job here, looking to snap the first losing streak of his career, Nurmagomedov has to get past Basharat in the other corner. The 30-year-old Afghani by way of London, by way of Florida, is 14-2 with 1 no contest overall. He's 3-2 with 1 no contest since joining the UFC out of season 5 of Dana White's Contender Series. It's been a story of rise and fall as he, along with his brother Farid Basharat, whom we'll be talking about a little later, joined the UFC back in 2021 as a pair of undefeated prospects. Farid is still undefeated. Javid won his first 3 fights in the UFC, but has had rough sledding ever since. He had a no contest against Victor Henry a little over 2 years ago when he just absolutely booted him in the pills. Then has lost back-to-back fights against Ayman Zahabi and Ricky Simon. The most recent of those, the Simone fight, was a little under a year ago, last February at UFC Fight Night Cejudo versus Cong. So Basharat, all of a sudden looking to avert a 3-fight losing streak. He is ever so slightly favored to get it done. Basharat is minus 115, Nurmagomedov plus 100, even money. This is an interesting matchup in that it is the most disappointing Basharat in the UFC against the most disappointing Nurmagomedov in the UFC. And it says a lot that they're both still pretty damn good fighters. Just they're not that Basharat or one of those Nurmagomedovs.
It's Frank Stallone going against Johnny Drama.
Nurmagomedov is the poster boy for a guy that does things well, and people think they do them even better because his name is Nurmagomedov. Like, if you're a regular of our show, absolutely. You know that we'll mention this sometimes. Like fighter A is a good wrestler. People think he's a great wrestler because his name's Nurmagomedov. But he is very much from the, Fight Club, Akhmat, Eagles MMA mold. He's of the kind of longer, rangier Dagestani type. He is a capable striker. He has a good kicking game. He generally manages range pretty well. He's an okay athlete. He's not, the Islam Makhachev, Khabib Nurmagomedov, Umar Nurmagomedov type, just top shelf athlete, but he's good athlete, good but not great wrestler is, kind of the way to put it. But, it's the same very Dagestani style wrestling game, just not quite at that next level. And it's kind of marked his ceiling in the division. He's lost 5 fights or 4 fights in the UFC at this point. Hani Barcelos way back in the day, but then, Vinicius Oliveira, Jonathan Martinez, both guys that were just dynamic strikers, seemed faster than him on the feet. He couldn't really match their output or power on the feet. He couldn't bring him to the ground when he wanted, and ended up losing decisions. He's competitive every time out, but I feel as though we've kind of seen his ceiling. Basharat is a little tougher one to diagnose. Javid and Farid were both lights out prospects coming to the UFC in 2021. But gun to my head, I might have said Javid was the better prospect of the two. He's like 2 years older than Farid, but They're both good athletes. They're both kind of similarly built, similar game. But I thought Javid might actually be the better one of the two, but he's come up against it. The Victor Henry fight was a wash. The loss to Ayman Zahabi has turned a corner. The night he lost to Zahabi might have beaten all but about 5 bantamweights in the entire division. Like the guy has just really turned a corner, but he did not look great against Ricky Simon, and Simon is a guy that seems to be in decline as well. So if the Basharat we see in the cage is the same one we saw a year ago, I think Nurmagomedov probably wins a decision here. And I guess that'd be the slightest of upsets. Nurmagomedov is available at even money, but I'd say Nurmagomedov probably just lands a little more volume than Basharat. I think Basharat's the harder hitter on a shot-for-shot basis, but he hasn't flexed that in a long while now. I mean, the last time he landed a really hard shot, Victor Henry vomited in a trash can in the corner of the cage. Give me Nurmagomedov by decision and just kind of a grindy fight that's probably 3 individually hard to score rounds, lots of wrestling, kind of a grueling bantamweight fringe contender matchup type thing.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely see this fight being very similar. Both guys really have their back against the wall. I mean, Nurmagomedov has not looked good recently. I agree with like your assessment of it. I think he's actually a better striker than he is a grappler. He sets up his shots with a lot of movement, a lot of footwork. He's fairly technical striking. He likes to work from distance, but then he'll explode when there's an opening. Very like whipping style punches. I'd say it's like plus power. Like he's not a one punch knockout threat, but he can rock guys. He does make the mistake sometimes. He'll pull his punches back as he's trying to pull his head back, so he kind of loses power there. Kicks are definitely the best part of his striking. He throws kicks from all angles. He loves those like question mark kicks. He's really sneaky to kind of hide them behind his combinations at like the end of when they think an exchange is over. Like a kick will come whipping afterwards. I'd say he's a decent wrestler. He's good. He can wrestle, but we've seen him get out wrestled and out grappled already in the UFC. So I've said it before. I'd say it's like his wrestling's grossly overrated, but I feel like the narrative on his wrestling has kind of equaled out a little bit now, so that people understand that he's more of like a very funky, scrabbly kind of wrestler. He has a submission threat. He has 5 subs on his record. He loves his guillotine. It's kind of his go-to move. Another issue he's had in close fights or fights that he's lost, he's gassed. Like he gassed against Jonathan Martinez, cost him a really close fight. Gassed against Vinicius Oliveira. Now Oliveira has an insane style that can gas anybody, so I'll give a little bit of pass there. Basharat, Basharat has all the tools. He's had some, tough sledding recently, but he's well-rounded. He's a good striker. He's elusive. He switches stances a lot. Very relaxed and poised. Very calculated in his striking. Sometimes he'd be too patient and not throw enough, and that'd be a big issue against Nurmagomedov if he stays on the outside and allows Nurmagomedov kind of kick him at will and move. When he lets his hands go, he's got fast hands. He's accurate. Not a lot of tells. Works behind a good jab. Good at sliding in and out of range. Attacks with combination. I think a good part of his game and something he should try to do against Nurmagomedov, get past that kicking range, get into that like mid-boxing range and use his hand fighting. He's really good at using it to kind of get around his opponent's attacks. I like that he goes to the body. I think it would be something smart to go against a guy who's gassed like Nurmagomedov. Of the two, he's probably the harder puncher than Nurmagomedov. He's got a big kicking game. He likes teep kicks. He likes calf kicks. He also will check leg kicks, which you don't see a lot. I love his stepping knees. He was landing at will against Tony Gravely. He does need to keep his defense up. He drops his hands. He'll back straight up on the center line. He doesn't tuck his chin enough. He can come in the pocket with his hands down. You have to worry about his chin after getting knocked out by Ricky Simon. He's a good wrestler. A good example of that was going back a while, was a Tony Gravely fight. Similar to Nurmagomedov, he's not your traditional wrestler. He's more of a creative scramble. Catch a kick, kind of get down that way. He showed that he can stop takedowns against a good wrestler like Gravely. He didn't wrestle Amin Zahabi much, and I actually think that cost him the fight. Like that fight was right there for the winning for him. Nice top game. He likes to move to a better position once it's the ground, hard ground and pound. He's got 6 subs also on his record, but he also faded late against Amin Zahabi. I think this is a really hard fight to pick because I think both guys has flash brilliance at times, but also have weaknesses. And it's almost like they're both inconsistent. They're very similar, like weaknesses, very similar styles. I'm going to go the opposite. I'm going to go with Basharat. I think his offensive weapons are the better of the two, but I have zero confidence in this pick. Like you've taken Nurmagomedov really made me question my pick. I think both guys going to have their moments. I think Basharat might win the striking. It comes down to can he hang in the scrambling on the ground? I think he can. I think it'll be super close, but give me Basharat to get back in the winning ways. I'll see he wins a split decision.
Next up on the UFC Fight Night 266 undercard is a strawweight matchup between Bruna Brasil and Ketlen Souza. Brasil, the 32-year-old Brazilian, is 11-5-1 overall. She's 3-3 since joining the UFC out of season 6 of Dana White's Contender Series. She fought most recently last August at the Road to UFC semifinals, the same card that all the finalists from last week's card fought on. She won a unanimous decision over Ming Shi. That's whatever it is, but it does mark a successful move to strawweight after fighting her first 5 UFC bouts at flyweight. She will look to keep the momentum going against Souza. 31-year-old, also from Brazil, is 15-6 overall. She's 2-3 in the UFC, 2-2 at strawweight. She debuted at flyweight, lost to Carini Silva, dropped to strawweight, where she won her next 2 fights, but then has gone on to lose her last 2, both by split decision. Lost a splitter to Angela Hill in February, and then another one to Piera Rodriguez in August. So she's looking to snap the first losing streak of her UFC run. She is favored to get it done. Souza is -160, Brasil +130. Both of these women, in my view, have been pretty disappointing / underwhelming in the UFC. Bruna Brasil had a certain amount of sizzle because she does have a certain amount of Muay Thai accolades, had some coming in to the UFC, but you can see the skills, but she's won 3 fights in the UFC at this point. Well, UFC / Road to UFC. I've not been terribly impressed in any of them. That's just the best way to put it.
Yeah, like, I agree.
Like I would make the argument that she's looked more like a UFC level fighter in her losses than her wins. Like losing to Loma and to Wang Kong, she was at least competitive and seemed to know what she wanted to do. Maybe that's because she was fighting fellow strikers in both of those bouts, because in her other bouts, like even winning, you can't underestimate the value of just knowing what you're good at and trying to make it happen. It's always sounds like an early 2000s cliche when a fighter says, I just need to go impose my will. But Bruna Brasil is one of many UFC fighters that needs to learn to impose her will. Like she is a good striker when she buckles down to do it. Obviously very Muay Thai style, more about volume than power, throws good volume. She's hittable, but she suffers the problem that a lot of Muay Thai strikers do in MMA, in the UFC, where she's too stationary. When a woman wants to crash the pocket, she doesn't have anything to do but throw offense at her. Like, she'll throw knees, she'll clinch, she'll grab the plum. But if that's not enough, then, she's been sucked into her opponent's fight. That's happened to her in basically all of her UFC losses. It's happened to her a lot, even in her UFC wins. And because of that, I have trouble picking her against Souza, because Souza has been disappointing as well, but at least she knows what she is. She's a short, powerful little ball of muscle who wants to bull forward, throw hooks, get in the clinch, like dirty box a woman. She is not averse to trying to take the fight to the ground or welcoming it if it goes there. I still feel as though Souza has upside to be a contender in this division. Like, she has physical tools. She's a good athlete. good power, but she's not looked great in her last 2 fights.
No.
Like, she lost the splitter to Angela Hill, and she probably should have won that, but you know what? Angela Hill could be 53 years old, and if you're an up-and-coming strawweight that, again, is not exactly sure what you want to do in the fight, Angela Hill's going to win a split decision against you. She'll still be winning split decisions, like when they have to like wheelchair like Hill out to the cage. And then Piera Rodriguez just really beat Souza in the kind of fight Souza wanted. Rodriguez is, similar build, similar style, and just seemed younger, faster, more athletic, stronger, and just kind of beat her everywhere in the same kind of fight both women wanted. I think Souza's going to do something similar to Brazil. This fight is, I think most of this fight is they could have this fight in a 5-foot cage and they'd be fine. Like, I think a lot of this fight is going to take place in the phone booth, in the clinch, outside the warning track, and give me Souza to win 2 rounds out of 3, just kind of mugging Brazil up close.
I'm sorry, you said you took Souza?
Yeah, by decision.
Yeah. Yeah, this fight isn't good. When I was saying earlier about like the Gafurov fight being lower, like there's no reason this fight should be higher in the card than that one. Bruna Brazil, I mean, she's a fight nerd, so I like that. But that's kind of where it stops. I mean, she's a good athlete. She's pretty explosive. You mentioned her; she's a kickboxer. One thing is her output has been inconsistent in fights. She'll throw a lot of single strikes in some fights. When she's on her offense, she sends up shots with feints, which I like. She'll throw out the occasional spinning attack. She's a good kicker. She likes high kicks. She likes calf kicks, some good knees up the middle. If you notice, I didn't really talk much about her hands because it's very just like, okay, like just very mediocre. Set some defensive holes, so keep her hands way too high, which I don't like. She doesn't tuck her chin. She's got hurt on the feet against Dionisio Gomez, where like every single strike Gomez was throwing was rocking her. She can't block the right hook because she keeps her left hand like down at her hip. And I was like, and if game plan A isn't working, she doesn't go to plan B. She will look to wrestle, but she likes like inside clinch. She didn't try to take Wang Cong down despite her just getting pieced up from the outside. And she, when she's gotten the fight to the ground, like, okay, like she's a weak defensive wrestler. Like, I don't know if I really have a good feel on Bruna Brazil. Souza, I mean, she's short and stocky for the division. She's a boxer with, fairly good footwork, nice volume. She tries to move a lot and kind of have her opponents chase her and then counter them, time them with power shots, which is actually one of my favorite things that some fighters do. She moves her head pretty well, but she needs to, because similar to Brazil, she keeps her hands really wide. She eats some shots because of that. When she gets inside, she throws big power shots. She's got good power. I also like that she'll look for elbows inside. She got some teep kicks. She'll throw some mean calf kicks. She can sneak in a takedown, but I would give her a grappling advantage over Brazil, but I definitely wouldn't call her a wrestler. But I say she's a decent grappler, some good back takes. She's got some weak takedown defense. She struggles to get back off the bottom. She was taken down easily slid by Karine Silva. But she has good cardio to go all 15 minutes. So this is a hard fight because I'm not very high on either. But we are on the same page. I'm going to go with Souza just because she has the power advantage. And she also has, I think, the ability to get the fight to the ground. Those two things. Because I'm not confident, I'll say split decision.
We move above bantamweight for the first time at UFC Vegas 113 as Dustin Jacoby takes on Julius Walker in a light heavyweight clash. Jacoby, the 37-year-old Coloradan, is 21-9-1 overall. He is 9-6-1 across 2 separate stints in the UFC, 9-4-1 since returning as a veteran of Season 4 of Dana White's Contender Series and a multiple-time Glory Kickboxing title challenger. He is on a 2-fight win streak. After going through a rough skid in 2022 to 2024, he has won back-to-back knockouts over Vitor Petrino and Bruno Lopez. The most recent of those, the Lopez fight, was back last May at UFC on ESPN Blanchfield versus Barber. Jacoby would like to make it 3 in a row, reaffirm that he is at least a fringe factor in this division against the up-and-coming Walker. 26-year-old Missouri native is 7-1 overall. He's 1-1 in the UFC. He made his debut about a year ago against Alonzo Menafield. That's obviously a big ask, but he came up just short in a split decision and then turned things around with a unanimous decision win over Rafael Cerqueira at UFC on ESPN Delize versus Hernandez last August. Walker would like to put that first career loss further in the rear view. He is not favored to get it done, as Jacoby is a minus 205 favorite, Walker plus 175 as the underdog. If this fight had taken place, Keith, even just a year ago, I would feel a lot less comfortable about Jacoby. But I don't know if...
Which is ironic when you think of the 37-year-old.
Yeah. The 37-year-old with a long MMA career and a long kickboxing career. But it turns out that maybe Jacoby wasn't shot or in steep decline so much as he just sort of came up against his ceiling, maybe at his best. Because you look back, he had a rough skid. He lost 4 out of 5 fights, but it was Khalil Roundtree, future title challenger, Azamat Mirzakhanov, soon to be title challenger, Alonzo Menafield, the 2023 version of Alonzo Menafield, and then Dominic Reyes, who last year was still, or, in 2024 was still in the middle of his insane comeback run. Jacoby just kind of got stuck in front of a freight train there for a couple of years. Since then, he beat Vitor Petrino, and Petrino has been in decline, but still, Jacoby knocked him out, and then he just walloped Bruno Lopez last spring. Jacoby seems to be at least back to being good at what he's good at. And he, at his best, is about as good a pure kickboxing representative as there is in the UFC. Like, I'm not saying he's Alex Pereira or anything. Like, he's lost to Alex Pereira in kickboxing, but just as a guy that uses all of your traditional kickboxing tools really well and makes it run in MMA by just having good enough footwork and, if not takedown defense, at least get up game to stay on the feet long enough to bring those weapons to bear. He's still doing it. That leads me to favor him against Walker. I don't know if I feel 2-1 favorite good about him. He is 37, as you point out. Walker's much younger. Walker is a guy that's clearly still figuring out his game from fight to fight. Walker has some serious physical tools and component skills, but I could see this one as being one where just Jacoby's footwork is so much better, and his, I see if Jacoby fights like I hope he fights, like be on his bike, dictate the distance, start using his leg kicks early and often, and don't quit using his leg kicks the first time Walker counters one or checks one, but start investing in the leg kicks early. I think he can win this one and make it look pretty easy. Maybe make it look easier than it should, the way the win will age as Walker goes his way. But the time these guys are meeting and the trajectory they're on, give me Jacoby in this one. Give me Jacoby to kind of put in a vintage Dustin Jacoby performance where, again, uses good lateral movement, has Walker kind of chasing him, bullying forward. Jacoby's chopping him up with leg kicks, meeting him with just planting him, meeting him with clean counters, and just kind of makes Walker look inexperienced and basic on the feet. Jacoby by decision, pretty lopsided.
Yeah, there's two things that's concerning me about Dustin Jacoby heading into this fight is I'm pretty sure I just watched on Embedded that he was in Australia with Cody Brundage like a week before he has to fly multiple times on 24-hour flight to Las Vegas or what is that about? So obviously that there's two things that concern me about that. One is like get changing time zones in a very short time, helping somebody else with their camp instead of focusing on yours. Like that, dude, that is worry. But the other thing is just hanging out with Cody Brundage when you're about
it's not catching.
Yeah. It's like they can't make you a better fighter to hang out with Cody Brundage.
Like I don't know if Alex Morono wins or loses later on this card, but I know that if he loses, it's not because he hangs out with me.
Okay, fair enough.
but
if he,
you know what?
If he wins, it is. But if he wins, it is.
Well, clearly. But speaking seriously, the fact that Jacoby was there, if it reflects the idea that at 37 and as a, again, former decorated kickboxer, he's already transitioning to sort of being Mark Montoya's second in command in another year or two, sure. That's worth thinking about.
Yeah, I just not a week before you're about to fight, and you gotta, I don't know, you gotta go all the way across the entire world. I mean, it'd be bad enough if he was in like England or something, but Australia, like what? Anyways, I'm sure I don't know if he was there for the actual fight. I know he saw him doing like the embedded stuff. Maybe he had to leave a couple of days early, so I don't know. But you know what we got with Jacoby. He's been around for a long time. He's a kickboxer. I like his volume on the feet, technical, very relaxed and poised. He parries punches. One of the few guys who do that, which I like. But he also uses feints well to set up strikes. I love that he's always kind of attacking from different angles. You know, his offense coming in. He's coming in, but then he's sidestepping. Works behind a good jab. He hurt Bruno Lopez with a jab. He follows through with straight shots down the pike. Doesn't really waste any. Just kind of touches and then unloads when there's an opening. He's shown power. He's doing Jung. He knocked out. He starts Kennedy and Jukro. He back-to-back knockout wins with Vitor Pacino and Bruno Lopez. You mentioned the calf kicks. That's a big part of his game. He never looks for takedowns. We know that's not going to happen. He's a bad defensive wrestler. He has taken so much damage. That's obviously worrisome at 37. I mean, he kept getting hurt against Mirzacano in that fight. But in fairness, Mirzacano hits like a truck. But he was hurt against Alonzo Manifield. He was knocked out against Dominic Reyes. So those things are really worrisome for me. Julius Walker, long and lanky, much younger fighters. I agree with what you said. Like he's kind of still learning the game. He fights out of both stances, fights behind a high guard defense. Low output, a lot of single strikes. He does throw straight shots down the pike. He does have some power. He throws hard kicks. The problem is his defense is bad. And back straight up on the center line, lacks head movement. He wasn't reacting well to strikes against Alonzo Manifield. And obviously Manifield hits hard, but he will wrestle a lot. And he does need to improve his top control if he gets the fight to the ground. Bad defense wrestler himself, but he's super big, so he's hard to hold down. He does have 2 subs on his record. Another thing I'm worried about, he's gassed out in the past. I mean, gassed out against Manifield. To his credit, he did dig deep in that fight, even though he was gassed, and a lot of people thought he won that fight. So I don't like the line, like you said, being as big as it is because of the fact that Walker wrestles so much and he's younger and you know, the distractions with Jacoby and the age. But technically on the feet, I mean, this should be a shellacking. So I'm going to go with you. I'm going to say that Jacoby gets it done. I say he tags him up on the feet. I think Walker's going to eventually gas out trying to wrestle so much. And I think Jacoby's going to knock him out. It's not going to be like a walk-off spectacular. I think it's just going to be like kind of a cumulative thing where he just finally flurries on him and Walker's not responding. Give me Jacoby by 3rd round TKO.
You know what? We never changed our picks in light of the other's pick. We've been doing this for too long. We've seen each other be wrong too many times. But here you talk. It doesn't work out when we do that.
One of us switches and we're both wrong.
But I picked Jacoby as well. But I'm feeling it the same way you are. I think Jacoby probably piles up enough damage to get a tired and beat up Walker out of there by round 3. So give me Jacoby by 3rd round KO as well. Next up at UFC Fight Night 266, and either this or the Jacoby versus Walker fight that we just talked about is going to be the first main card fight. We're not sure which it is, but this is a welterweight matchup between Alex Morono and Daniil Donchenko. Morono, the 35-year-old Houstonian, is 24-12 with 1 no contest overall. He's 13-9 with 1 no contest since joining the UFC almost exactly a decade ago as the outgoing LFA welterweight champ. He has had his share of ups and downs across his UFC run, but it's been mostly downs over the past year and a half as he is stuck in the first losing streak of his career, having lost 3 straight dating back to summer of 2024. He fought just once last year. It was at UFC 313 last March, where he got knocked out in the first round by Carlos Leal Miranda. So Morono very possibly fighting for his job here, certainly fighting for any last vestiges of relevance, even as a mid-card action guy in this division. And he is facing a guy 11 years his junior in the Ukrainian. Daniil Donchenko, just 24 years old, 12-2 overall, 1-0 in the UFC. He made his debut last September at Noche UFC, knocking out Rodrigo Cezinando late in the first round. These two have the widest age gap on the card, aside from possibly Jacoby and Walker. It is also the widest gap on the card in terms of the betting lines, perhaps unsurprisingly, as Donchenko is minus 550, Morono plus 425 on the comeback. As I said ahead of our first preview this year, going forward, I'm not going to throw out picks for fighters that I see at the gym. Alex Morono runs the gym that I belong to.
These guys clearly threatened you. They cornered Ben.
It's absolutely the opposite of that. Like, I could tell you guys that I think Morono's going to get his head punted into the third row, and if he even listens to the show, like he'd laugh about it on Tuesday. What it really is again, there's a potential conflict of interest, and not saying that I do, but if I see one of these guys limping around the gym, I don't want to say something that's going to like tilt betting lines. I don't even want to go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Yeah,
that's why I did this, guys. It's like, I just want to avoid any appearance of it, and I don't want to do the Pete Rose thing where, you know, you can tell when I think a guy's going to lose when I don't pick his fight.
Yeah.
Like, even if I think Morono's going to twist Donchenko into a pretzel, I'm not going to tell you. So I've teed up the fight. Keith, tell me how you see it.
But if you tell me off the air and all of a sudden I'm like, yeah, what from Morono having a knee injury? I'm like, Keith, how do you know about that? You know? I mean, Alex Morono, I mean, the guy's 35 years old. He's been around the UFC forever. We kind of know where he is. He's, despite having the jiu-jitsu background, this guy's a pocket boxer. He wants to get inside. He wants to throw down. The problem is
at the gym, the floors are lava.
Yeah. It's a jiu-jitsu gym. Yeah.
Yeah.
He wants to get inside. The problem is he's really slowed down. Even like his last win against Court McGee, his hands were slow. He does hit hard. I'll give him that. But he's not Francis Ngannou, and he fights like he thinks he is. If he connects with the big shot, he's going to put someone out. He loads up a lot, so his opponents can kind of time him. And, I do like his kicks. He'll throw some spinning attacks too, which I do hate. He doesn't move his head as much as he used to. That was actually one of the big, best tools of his game, like slip a shot and then counter. He's never been a good wrestler. He's an awful defensive wrestler. He can catch a submission, particularly like his guillotine. He's got a good guillotine. The problem is if he gets put on his back, he'll play BJJ against good top side wrestlers. He will toss up a lot of submission attempts. He was always a blood and guts guy. You know, when you think of blood and guts guys, you don't think Alex Morono, you think of Matt Brown, you think of that, but he does fit a little bit into that category. The problem is he doesn't have the gas tank to really do it anymore. I mean, he was completely gassed against Nico Price midway through the second round. He's taking ungodly amount of damage over the years. He isn't reacting to shots well anymore. And honestly, he might be too tough for his own good. He needs Alex Morono and Alex Volkanovski are completely different fighters for many reasons, but also the knowledge of who they are. Volkanovski knows he's getting older. I need to protect myself. He even said there was times I could have opened up more, and I'm like, why should I take the damage? Morono doesn't even think about taking damage. He he's a guy he'd go jumping off an airplane and be like, I don't need a parachute. I'll figure it. I'll tuck it roll at the very end, you know?
Just get your feet moving real fast. And
Donchenko, it's really hard to know what you get with this guy. He's only 24, and it's hard to gas his skills because you look at he's got a lot of fights, but you look at his last ones, he's just knocking guys out very quickly. He's a southpaw. He's a kickboxer. I like that he darts his head off the center line a lot to avoid strikes. He cuts angles really well with his offensive strikes. He hits super hard. And he throws a lot of lead kick lead leg kicks. Haven't seen too much of his ground game. Maybe Morono is crafty enough. He's got something up the sleeves. But I doubt it, dude. This seems like a passing of the torch fight. And this actually seems like it might be the last we see of Morono. I think Morono tries to sluck it out. I don't think that'll be the best strategy. I think it's his best chance of winning is clipping Donchenko. The problem is I think it's going to be the other way around. I think he's going to get blasted. I think Donchenko's going to win by first round knockout.
Next up on the UFC Vegas 113 main card is a men's bantamweight matchup between John Matsumoto and Farid Basharat. Matsumoto, the 26-year-old Brazilian, is 17-1 overall. He's 3-1 since joining the UFC out of Season 7 of Dana White's Contender Series. He fought twice last year. Almost exactly a year ago, he dropped a split decision to Rob Font at UFC Fight Night Cejudo versus Cong. That was a very close fight, as Keith alluded to during the intro. Whether you think he lost or won, he bounced back from that with a split decision win over Miles Johns last August at UFC on ESPN Dolidze versus Hernandez. He'll look to start up a new win streak here against Basharat, who is looking to extend his career-long win streak to 15 straight. The 28-year-old Afghani by way of London, by way of South Florida, is a perfect 14-0 as a professional. He's a perfect 5-0 since joining the UFC out of Season 6 of the Contender Series. He fought just once last year. It was in October at UFC 320, where he won a unanimous decision over Chris Gutierrez. He is, as you might suspect, pretty comfortably favored to keep the good vibes going here. Basharat is minus 280, Matsumoto plus 230 coming back. Keith, you already said, and I wholeheartedly agreed with you, this in a lot of ways is the standout fight on the card. And if you're listening to this preview on the audio platform of your choice instead of watching it on YouTube, you missed Keith's kind of furrowed brow of what the heck is up with that line. On the one hand, I understand why. When you're undefeated for your whole career, sure, it's hard for fans or even bettors to picture something happening that they've not seen happen before. But I mean, how many fighters in this entire division would be 3-1 favorites over John Matsumoto right now? I think there's Farid Basharat and probably the top 4 in the entire division.
Yeah. Basharat, he's super good. So I'm not trying to bash him. No. That makes sense against other guys in the division, like other good ones, like the guys he just fought, like Miles Johns.
Yeah.
Who John Matsumoto just fought.
Well, hey, Rob Font, you pointed out that Matsumoto could easily have gotten the split decision nod over Rob Font. If Matsumoto is 18-0 coming into this fight and Basharat is 14-0, Basharat might still be favored, but this thing is like a near pick'em, minus 130 plus 110. So Basharat has swung to be a 3-1 favorite based on one goofy scorecard by one UFC judge, is what we're basically saying here.
Yeah, and how old was he when he fought Rob Font? I mean, he's 20.
He's 24.
He was 24. Yeah, it was 24.
Yeah,
because a split decision against a crafty guy and who's had a lot of success himself in the UFC.
No, Rob Font has become like the Angela Hill of the men's bantamweight division. Like, he's fading, but he's still going to sneak up and catch you with a splitter if you don't know what if you don't have all your ducks in a row.
Yeah.
God, I feel terrible saying that about Boston's finest, but
yeah, Boston's finest. Yeah. Basharat, that's because I think the line should be much closer. Basharat's really good. I mean, the guy's an insane athlete, nice footwork, very elusive, very well-rounded. I love, like I said about his brother, the same thing. He's very relaxed and calculated, great output on the feet, uses feints to set up his shots, accurate. He's one of the few guys who works behind a double jab, great straight right. He targets the body, hard calf kicks. He throws a lot of them, especially when he's in the southpaw stance. The biggest issue offensively is that he lacks one true punch, like fight-ending power. That's probably why he hasn't been going up the rankings as fast, because he doesn't have these like, oh my god moments. And that's also because he doesn't sit on his punches. He does need to clean up his defense a little bit. He stands a little too tall for my liking. He is a good wrestler, and I love his wrestling. Great timing on his reactionary doubles if you press him too much. Great inside. He he uses those long arms to snatch singles. He doesn't care if you stop his takedowns because he has that mindset. He'll just keep going. Great top game. Good ground and pound. He's a big submission threat. Matsumoto's only 26. I think this guy's good. Like, I think this is gonna be one of these fights. Like, 3-4 years from now, like, oh, remember when these guys fought each other? As I said, I think he should be undefeated. I think most people gave the fight to Font, but I was in the minority who gave it to Matsumoto. I think this
I looked it up.
Okay.
Yeah, about 2/3 of the media gave it to Font, a third to Matsumoto. So it was split basically.
Okay, so it wasn't like okay. So I'm not like
it split pretty much the same way the official judges were. Yeah.
Yeah. I think this guy could be a contender one day. Like, he's a Muay Thai striker. He can fight out both stances. He does need to move a little bit more. He can be a little bit of a stationary target, and that'll be bad also against Basharat with the takedown defenses if you stand directly in front of him. But he's got nice output, great pressure against Miles Johns. That's a scary guy to kind of pressure forward because of his takedowns and the big power that he has. But he's got fast hands. He's accurate. He also works behind a jab, throws a lot of combinations, clean 1-2s. He has good pop in his hands, and he's just kind of now reaching his power years. He mixes punches and kicks together well, throws a lot of kicks. He does throw a lot of naked leg kicks, so I need to send him up a little bit. But his kicks are hard body kicks. He's one of the guys who actually kicks the thighs instead of the calves. That's something that he does need to change up, though. Quick high kick. He will fight behind a high guard defense. He pillars to block shots, which is another bad thing he does, which will set up Basharat's entries because you're bringing your hands up so much and kind of hiding. You don't see the entries coming in. But he can wrestle himself too. Fast entries, gets the fight to the ground, good top game, mean ground and pound, good BJJ. He's another guy he'll look to jump guillotine, which would be pretty gutsy against Basharat. But he's got 5 subs on his record. When he was taken down by Dan Arqueta, he was quickly popping right back to his feet. And he's super tough, man. Like he was 24 years old. He's matching against Rob Font. He's getting, eating some big shots from Rob Font. He wasn't stopping, and he had good cardio. So I think this line is way off. I don't want to say pick him. I understand what Basharat's the favorite, and I think he should be the favorite. I expect both guys to have their moments. I think it's pretty even on the feet. I think it's pretty even on the ground. I am torn. Basharat will push the wrestling a little bit more. I think he's the better athlete, which is tough because I think Matsumoto's a really good athlete too. But I'm going to say Basharat. I'm going to say it's super close. I think it's going to be the one fight where I think it's going to be a fight where people will find holes in Basharat, and it'll be one of those, oh, he's not that good, when it should be, no, Matsumoto is, like, people won't really how good Matsumoto is. I'll say Basharat by split decision.
Yeah, I see this similarly to you in a lot of ways. It's interesting to go back and look at Matsumoto's fight with Font. Again, whether you think he won or he lost, even if you thought he should have deserved the split decision nod, and I didn't give a score to MMA decisions at the time the fight happened, but watching it to study for this, I did score it for Font. But it's interesting because there's so much about that just screams young phenom running into his first real serious opposition. Like, Font's the first guy Matsumoto ever fought that is even a former top 10-ish guy in the UFC. Like, all due respect, he's a step up from Dan Arqueta and Brad Katona. And you could see Matsumoto was just taken aback by Font's approach. And the interesting thing is, Font fought a little out of character in that fight. Like, Font is normally a guy that, we think of him, he lives and dies by the jab. If you can't do anything about the jab, he's going to beat you. But Font was kind of aggressive, like really sat down in his shots, was hitting coming at Matsumoto, like just taking the fight right to him. I think if it was Font versus Matsumoto in a rematch on Saturday, I'd favor Matsumoto huge in that one. Like, I think I could see.
Yeah, I would too, just for the record.
Yeah. I think that's going to be it's going to turn out having been a learning experience for Matsumoto. I mean, basically, I agree everywhere. Matsumoto, he's another of the guys that he's quick to look for the guillotine, but it's hard to fault him for it because his last 5 submissions are all by guillotine or something that started off the front headlock, like Darce choke, Anaconda choke, guillotine choke. So it's working for him. Having said that, I don't think that's a route to victory against Basharat. Like, just Basharat's too strong, too good a grappler, too savvy himself. I see this basically like you do. I think this is going to be a close fight, a fun fight. It's one of the highest level fights on the card. It's also one with potential to be fight of the night because I think it's going to be a high-paced fight, very skilled, that probably is going to cycle through all phases of MMA continually. Give me Basharat as the guy that is a little faster, a little more athletic, and has fought the higher level of competition to get his hand raised in a decision. But again, 26-year-old versus 28-year-old. Basharat is already a top 10 guy. Matsumoto obviously has that kind of upside. This is the kind of fight that you could see them rematching 2 or 3 years down the road for much higher stakes. We head to the middleweight division next for a match between Michal Oleksiejczuk and Marc-Andre Barriault. Oleksiejczuk, the 30-year-old Pole, is 21-9 with 1 no contest overall. He's 9-7 with 1 no contest in the UFC. He's 5-4 since moving down from light heavyweight to middleweight. He's on a 2-fight win streak. That's the good news. The bad news is that it's against Cedric Dumas and the ghost of Gerald Meerschaert. But however you got there and against whomever, it's a pair of first-round knockouts in 2025 for Oleksiejczuk. The most recent of those, the Meerschaert fight, was at UFC 319 back in August. So he's looking to make it 3 in a row here against Barriault. 35-year-old Canadian is 17-10 with 1 no contest overall, 6-9 with 1 no contest since joining the UFC as a former 2-division champ in Canada's TKO promotion. He's coming in off a loss and, in fact, has lost 4 of his last 5. He fought at UFC on ABC Whitaker versus De Ridder last July, where he dropped a unanimous decision to Shara Bullet. So Barriault looking to pull out of a bit of a skid here. Not favored to get it done. Perhaps unsurprisingly, Oleksiejczuk is a big favorite. He's minus 330, Barriault plus 270 coming back. I get why the line is what it is, and I have to kind of agree with it. I mean, a lot of the things that you said about Alex Morono a couple fights ago, you can kind of say about Marc-Andre Barriault. He's been a streaky fighter in the UFC. He's had his ups and downs. Seems to fight against his own best interest sometimes, but he made it go for a surprisingly long time, just with ungodly toughness. His power bar is a good nickname for him. He won some fights by just never going away and staying in his opponent's face, outlasting him, but he has taken an ungodly amount of damage in that time. And Oleksiejczuk, despite the fact that it feels like he's been around the UFC for 15 years, he's still just 30 himself. At middleweight, that means he might actually not have peaked yet. He's just 5-4 at middleweight, but I feel as though he's more competitive than that number makes it seem like. He is still dependent on matchups to get his wins. At light heavyweight as well as at middleweight, he's a good, crisp boxer with fast hands, much better power than you would suspect from looking at him. He's not a big or muscular middleweight. He looked frankly undersized at light heavyweight, but nonetheless, when he starts putting his hands on people, you can tell they feel it. And that's pretty much all I need to know about this one. Barriault has to come forward to win this fight. He's really bad defensively at this point, like terrible head movements. Oleksiejczuk has good footwork, fast, accurate hands. I see Barriault coming forward, Oleksiejczuk catching him with clean counters, exiting cleanly, reset, tag him again. If Barriault just barrels forward and either forces the clinch, runs him to the cage, gets takedown from there, or manages to get a clean takedown in space, this fight can turn on its head. Oleksiejczuk is still defensively susceptible on the ground. He's been tapped out a couple of times, and it's been bad when he gets tapped out. Like, we've seen him get put to sleep. We've seen him get his arm put on backwards. Barriault could do that, or could just park on top and land some ground and pound that is still good when he has a chance to. But I think that's the outside possibility. Oleksiejczuk is younger, fresher, faster, more technically sound, and better in the areas of MMA where most of this fight is likely to take place. I think this could be the end of a rough run for Barriault. I expect him to be on my cut list because I think Oleksiejczuk's going to knock him out in the second round.
Yeah, I have a very similar feel to this fight. I've kind of always kind of liked Oleksiejczuk. Yeah, he's a fun action guy. Southpaw, he presses forward, great volume. He's really good at forcing his opponent onto that back foot and then kind of not letting them escape. He bursts forward with big combinations. He wings like big overhand lefts. I like that he'll wing a punch where he uses to kind of just get a defense up to close the pocket, close the distance so he can get into the pocket and unload big shots. Nice overhand right. He targets the body well. He beat up Michal with body shots. He hits hard. He's hurt so many guys. The problem is he's all offense, no defense. I mean, he gets hit a lot, but that's his style. He's willing to eat a shot to land one of his own. He isn't an offensive wrestler by any means, but that offensive wrestling has come a long way where he can actually get takedowns, every once in a while. His defensive wrestling is still weak. He still struggles to get off the bottom. The biggest issue has been his submission defense. I mean, one of the more recent losses he's had that I think was his worst was the Kevin Holland one. That was ugly, where he just, got armbarred so easily. Barriault, he fights out of both stances. He constantly wants to move forward and press his opponents. He's got good volume, nice power. He does load up a lot on his shots. And when he unloads, he's open to counters. When he straightens his shots, is much better. His straight right is good. He's got a big kicking game. He targets the calves. He hates being pressured back, though. I mean, he struggled with the pressure of Anthony Hernandez, but obviously that fight has, that loss has aged really well. But like Jung Young Park also forced him back, another guy who's been really successful with pressure. He has a lot of defense voles. He pillars. You have to be worried about his chin. He's taken so much damage over the air. I mean, even in a win, like he was dropped against Bruno Silva. Now he can close the distance. He can work well in the clinch. Absolute mean clinch strike, something he probably should do against Oleksiejczuk. I mean, he put Bruno Silva out. They dedicated carry Bruno Silva out a stretcher from his clinch strikes. Not much of an offensive wrestler, but he can get a takedown. His takedown defense has been inconsistent. I think it's better than Oleksiejczuk's, but he also struggles to get off the back. Another strength he has is his cardio. So this is two really fun guys. Oleksiejczuk always goes forward, while Barriault sometimes goes forward. In this case, he's either going to want to be all the way in or all the way out. He either wants to be in that clinch or he's going to want to be distance and kind of use his kicks. But I'm with you. I think Oleksiejczuk just marches him down. I think he punishes him with boxing. I'm going to say he does in the first round. I'm going to say Oleksiejczuk puts him out in the very first round. I'm so confident. I'm going to go Oleksiejczuk by stoppage. I'm going to put it as my lock of the night.
What round?
I went first round. I'm not locking first round, but I'll say Oleksiejczuk by stoppage is my lock.
Third from the top at UFC Fight Night 266 is a heavyweight matchup between Jailton Almeida and Rizvan Kuniev. Almeida, the 34-year-old Brazilian, is 22-4 overall. He's 8-2 in the UFC. He is 6-2 since moving up to heavyweight. He's coming in off a loss. He fought most recently at UFC 321 back in October, where he dropped a split decision to Alexander Volkov. That snapped a 2-fight win streak for him over Alexander Romanov and Sergey Spivak. So he's looking to start up a new win streak here against Kuniev. 33-year-old Dagestani, 12-3-1 with one no contest overall. He's 0-1 in the UFC. He made his debut at UFC on ABC Hill vs. Roundtree in June, where he dropped a split decision to Curtis Blades. That was after a pair of successful appearances on Dana White's Contender Series. The loss to Blades snapped a long unbeaten streak for him. I want to say it was like a 10-fight unbeaten streak. So he's looking to start up a new streak as well here. Keith, I'll quiz you on this one. Your favorite is -140, underdog +115. Who are they?
Wow. I'm assuming Almeida's still a favorite.
You are correct. Jailton Almeida, -140, Rizvan Kuniev, +115. I feel as though I normally have a pretty good grasp on what I'm watching when I watch fights. I've watched fights for a long time. I've covered them professionally for a long time at this point. So at risk of embarrassing myself by asking you a very basic question, is Rizvan Kuniev a good fighter? Is he any good at all? And tell me how you think this fight plays out.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, think about how many people thought he beat Curtis Blades. I was one of them. I thought he beat Curtis Blades.
So. Whereas nobody thinks Almeida beat Curtis Blades. So
yeah. Almeida. Yeah, I mean, I think he's good, but we're gonna find out because regardless of how you feel about Almeida's style, he's good. He's a massive dude. 79-inch reach, long and lanky guy. His striking has improved over the years, which is really surprising because he showed none of it in his last fight. Sometimes when guys start getting, a skill they'll abandon their first skill. Well, that's not the case with Almeida. On the feet, he did show some power against Sergey Spivak. He'll throw some kicks, some teep kicks. Some of that is because he'll throw some calf kicks. Some of that is he doesn't care if you grab his legs. He wants to grapple anyways. He's a good wrestler. He's got some nice entries, especially for heavyweight. Though he will sometimes shoot without a setup. I was impressed that he got takedowns early against Curtis Blades. He slammed Shamil Abdurrahimov. Gets to fight the ground, good control. I mean, he works, he inches. The problem is sometimes he forgets it's not a wrestling match. Like sometimes he just controls. Against Volkov, he just refused to strike. If he threw anything on top, he would have won that fight. This wasn't a one and done because he stalled a lot against Derek Lewis, and then he just gets the backpack position and do nothing. It sucks because we've seen him be incredible on the ground. Advanced position on the ground. He's got very good mat returns if you try to get up. He's got good back takes. He's got 13 subs on his record. He can get subs off his back. Now, he will play BJJ off his back a little bit too much, but we've seen him get sweep stuff. But when he's on top and he actually lets his hands go, he has good ground and pound. We saw that against Jazina Rosa. We saw it against Daniil Marquez. But again, he would rather just control the damage. Kuniev, he's also a big, massive heavyweight, like we said. Like I said, I don't know how you scored it, but I actually gave it to him over Blades. It was close, but and it wasn't the best fight, but and a lot of people thought it was just a poor showing from Blades, and some of that could be very true. He's pretty well rounded. He's got some decent boxing, nice output. I like his left hook. I like that he targets the body. He does hit hard. Good step in knees, good teep kicks, hard calf kicks. He will close the distance and work in the clinch. He's a solid offensive wrestler. I mean, he's from Russia, but don't expect world-class wrestling in that sense. But he's hard to take down. He is a submission threat. He has 3 subs. Almeida has been great in the UFC in the past. I still, despite this horrendous showing against Volkov, I still don't think it's out of the realm that he could win the title. It would not surprise me. I mean, would you say he's negative 130, 140 favorite?
Mine's 140. Yeah.
Yeah. It would not surprise me if he just goes right out there, takes Kuniev down, subs super quickly, and we're like, oh my God, how did we disrespect him that bad to have the line this close? We forgot Jelton Almeida was a guy that not only is he really good, but a lot of people was taking him to win the title.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think a lot of people are picking him now, but there was a time a lot of people thought he was a future champion. I'm hoping losing to Volkov the way he did will motivate him more to be more active once he gets the fight to the ground. That said, I'm picking Kuniev in an upset. I say he wins the exchanges on the feet. I say he stops enough of Almeida's entries. I think we're going to have a lot of clinching and close knees where they're exchanging positions against the cage. I think this is going to be a really ugly fight. Give me Kuniev, I'll say by split decision.
Excellent. It's interesting. I feel as though, obviously, Almeida looked like a potential future champion when he moved up to heavyweight, and his first 3 or 4 fights at heavyweight bore that out as he just absolutely massacred 3 decent fighters on the ground. Not 3 decent ground fighters, but 3 decent fighters he massacred on the ground. I feel as though there are 2 fights that have really caused people to jump off the Almeida train if they've jumped off. One is the Lewis fight that he actually won, and then one is the Volkov fight. Like the Blades fight, he kind of gets a pass for.
He was winning the Blades fight until he wasn't.
But,
and even the Lewis fight, he won every second of that fight.
Well, that's where I'm going with this. The Lewis and Volkov fights, he gets criticism in both for just not doing enough on top. Against Volkov, it might have cost him the fight. Against Lewis, it didn't cost him the fight. It cost him a few fans. But think also of this. He's getting criticism for fighting Derek Lewis for 25 minutes. And I don't care what the UFC stats counter says. I think it says Lewis landed 36 significant strikes. I don't remember them.
Hammer fist on the legs and stuff. Like
yeah. Like they must be counting as significant strikes, Lewis like walloping him off his back. Like he won every second of a fight against the most dangerous man in the division.
Plain and simple, nobody gets significantly struck by Derek Lewis 36 times and is not knocked out.
Yeah. So it's tempting to say, yeah, people have soured on Almeida too quickly here. And on the flip side, Kuniev has not been tested against anywhere near the level of competition. Like the best.
Well, Blades.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like,
okay, I'm sorry.
but
regionally,
his second best opponent after Blades. Well, it's probably Hernan Ferreira back in PFL, where he actually looked pretty good. But Almeida's just fought a much higher level of opposition. There's the possibility that when they get in the cage there, just Almeida makes them look a mile apart in terms of skill. But I'm actually leaning the same way here. I think Almeida, I could see Almeida doing really well early. Like Kuniev's going to be a good 20, 25 pounds heavier. Not all of that is quality weight, but some of it is. He's a legitimately massive guy, but I could see Almeida ragdolling him early. But Matt returning a guy the size of Kuniev over and over again is not going to go well for him. I think Kuniev pulls out a decision here as well, and I think it's an ugly slog. I see it as Almeida probably winning the first round. There being a close second round where, stop me if you've heard this song before, Almeida does nothing on top, and maybe Kuniev just wins a garbage round, or that's where it goes split because nobody can score it. The crowd, well, there is no crowd because it's the Apex, but 175 people are booing, including like Lorisenko. I don't know, but this is going to be a terrible fight.
Oh yeah.
Give me Kuniev by split decision as well.
I forgot that it's in the Apex, what makes it even worse. I want to correct you though. You said Kuniev has not faced top competition. He has fought, ready for this name, blast from the past, Justin Willis. Remember Justin Willis?
I watched that. He got out wrestled by the man that,
believe it or not, Justin Willis, when he was in like somewhat shape, he was actually a pretty good fighter.
He was, but he was not in great shape by the time he got to the UFC. I remember
dude, he was a shape, all right, but
he was a shape, but it was actually Blades versus Willis. It was Willis's last UFC fight where Willis's nickname is Big Pretty, of course. But after Blades whooped him, Blades is walking around the cage before the decisions read, yelling, "Big titties, big bitch." Just so brutal. Anyway, I got Kuniev by decision as well in the slight upset. That brings us to the co-main event of UFC Fight Night 266, a men's flyweight matchup between Amir Albazi and Kyoji Horiguchi. Albazi, the 32-year-old Iraqi by way of Las Vegas, is 17-2 overall. He's 5-1 in the UFC. He joined the UFC 5 years ago, won his first 5 fights in the promotion, then ran into Brandon Moreno just a little over a year ago in the headliner of UFC Fight Night 246. He lost pretty decisively there, dropped a 5-round decision, and then has been on the shelf ever since. Going into the Moreno fight, he had been right there in the title picture. He's got plenty to prove in his return here, and he's not getting any breaks as he's taken on the man we're all talking about, Horiguchi, 35-year-old from Japan, 35-5 with 1 no contest overall, 8-1 across 2 separate stints in the UFC. 1-0 since coming back. He, of course, was in the UFC in his early 20s, young Japanese phenom, fought Demetrius Johnson for the title, and it didn't go great for him. He lost via buzzer-beating armbar in a fight he had been losing comprehensively anyway, but nonetheless, left the UFC on his own steam at 7-1, left and won the Rizin bantamweight and flyweight titles, as well as the Bellator bantamweight title, before getting called back or signed back last year. He made his return appearance at UFC Fight Night Sarukian versus Hooker last November, walked straight into a matchup with a top 10 opponent, and choked Tagir Ulanbekov all the way to sleep in the third round. So at least in this living room, buzz is off the charts for the triumphant returning 35-year-old, and he is a strong favorite here. Horiguchi is -350, Albazi +275 coming back. Keith, I love Horiguchi. He's an easy guy to root for. I enjoyed following his run outside the UFC and Rizin and Bellator, but -350 over a guy as good as Amir Albazi is, I mean, that's saying something. Tell me if you disagree, and tell me who you think gets it done here.
Yeah, I mean, being 35 years old is tough, especially going against a good guy is always tough. But I'm with you, man. I'm a big Horiguchi guy too. I got to see him in person a lot because with his run in Bellator and Bellator coming to Mohegan Sun a bunch of times. So I'll tell you right now, man, he has a cult following. Like the Japanese people will travel. All of a sudden, there was a lot of Japanese people at Mohegan Sun in middle of nowhere, Connecticut, to see Horiguchi. The dude, I mean, he looked absolutely sensational in his return to the UFC against Tagir Ulanbekov. I think we both picked him over Ulanbekov, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay, yes, we both picked him. He was the underdog. We both picked him.
Yeah. And
we expected him to win, but I don't think either one of us expected him to look that spectacular. I mean, it was a shellacking.
Yeah.
He's a great athlete. He's well-rounded. He sets up feints really well. He's still fast, which is crazy at 35 years old. And then let's not forget this. He moved back down to flyweight, like to not only look fast, but to go back to a weight class that you ever fought in, like, what was it, like a decade or something. Really good at beating his opponent to the point of contact. He's got a great, sharp, like short, hidden right hand. He hits hard. He has 15 TKOs. I am a little worried about his chin because he's taken a lot of damage over the years, and we've seen him hurt and stun. He hurt and stunned in the past, and but a lot of that also has to do with this guy's fought stud after stud after stud. He's fought all the top guys outside of the UFC, and I mean even in the UFC when his first run, He's a very good clinch striker, nice knees inside. He's a good wrestler. He will wrestle a lot. He showed how good his wrestling was against Ulanbekov. Nice entries, good at winning scrambles. Good anti-wrestling. We've seen that for years now against Ulanbekov, against
dude, Darian Caldwell. He made
Darren Caldwell.
ridiculous.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of. Yeah, against Darren Caldwell. Not the first fight, but the second fight. It was such sensational. First fight, Caldwell was winning, then he ended up getting caught. But the second one, really impressive. But he's got a winning scramble, good ground and pound. He can get a submission. We saw that. If you take him down, he'll pop back out, and he has the cardio to go not just 15 minutes, but 25 minutes. He is a legit champion threat at flyweight. Albazi's going to be tough to kind of know what we're getting. I mean, the guy's he's dealt with a slew of injuries. He's been out for, how long has it been since he's been out? It's
14 months.
Yeah, 14 months. Wasn't it something super serious too?
Yeah, Albazi's had a couple of health issues that are. He had heart surgery in late 2023. He had neck surgery in 2024. I mean, he's getting to kind of like Tatiana Suarez level, where it's not just career type injuries and medical issues, but like life type injuries and medical issues that he's dealt with. And he was a top 5 guy, at least going into the cage the last time we saw him. But again, plenty of question marks just because of all those health issues.
Yeah. Well, one thing we should say is Tatiana Suarez, she also had deal with cancer. So not to that level, but I know what you meant by it. Yeah, when we last seen him, he's a well-rounded fighter. He's, on the feet, he's fairly technical striker. The problem is his volume has never been the best, and that in flyweight is not the weight class to one-shot guys. But when he lets his hands go, he is accurate. He works on a good jab. I like that he cuts angles well. He sets up shots with feints well. He loves to work himself inside the range, get inside, and then unload big, hard power shots when an opening's available. He'll keep he stays outside, then he darts in. He kind of keeps his distance with a check left hook. He does get hit a lot because he doesn't move his head enough. He also isn't the fastest. Like against Brandon Moreno, he struggled with the speed of Brandon Moreno. And say Moreno's really good in boxing, but his speed is not like off the charts. It's just he's very technical. Well, at least his prime was. He'll throw some hard calf kicks. He's a solid wrestler. Good time on his reactionary double if he's pressured or if his opponent opens up with big shots. He also likes some clinch takedowns, but he really struggled to try to get Moreno down. If he gets the fight to the ground, he does have some good control. He looks to advance position on the ground. He's got some slick back takes. He's got 8 career subs. He subbed Francisco Figueiredo, who's a pretty good grappler himself and kind of like stole a lot of buzz from Figueiredo at that time. He can get subs from both on top and bottom. So as far as prediction goes, I like Albazi, but I've kind of viewed him as a second tier flyweight. Like I never, I saw him like 7th, 8th best guy in the world. Add that dealing with some serious injuries, being out for a long time. Obviously getting older. I can't like him more now than I did a year ago. And then in my, I'm a Brandon Moreno guy. How could you not be a Brandon Moreno guy? But it's almost like he comes back and gets even a harder matchup. I did say the betting line was off, but then I would be extremely surprised if Horiguchi doesn't win. I think Horiguchi dominates everywhere, and I think he's going to get a finish late. I'm going to say he subs Albazi. I think it's going to look very similar to Ulanbekov fight where he's coming on strong in the third, and Albazi's fading, and he finally subs him. Give me Horiguchi by third round submission.
Yeah, obviously, Horiguchi's return to the UFC has been a pleasant surprise, and as cool as it's been to watch him during that 9-year absence from the UFC, I assumed that if and when he ever came back, we'd be talking about his prospects at bantamweight. I did not expect that he'd drop down to 125 pounds in his mid-30s and look as good as he has. I'm not picking it to happen, but I sort of jokingly threw out in a couple of my year-end prediction shows that my breakout fighter of 2026 or my fighter of the year for 2026 would be Kyoji Horiguchi, who had one UFC title and was about to fight for another by the end of 2026. It's not entirely out of the realm of possibility.
No. The only thing that again, sorry to interrupt you. The only thing that really he got hurt is he kind of has already broken out, at least on the world scene, a couple times.
Yeah. He never went anywhere. He's been, he's been in the Sherdog rankings in one or both divisions constantly for the past 10 years. There's nobody else in the entire sport that we can say that about.
Yeah, he's the man.
Yeah, he really is the man.
Well, hold on. For a second, DC kind of for a little while.
Yeah, if it was a whole decade, yeah, like DC, definitely could have been. But I guess I really meant those divisions.
Fair enough.
Like, even leaving aside the bantamweight excursions, for anyone to be fighting this well at 35 at men's flyweight period is pretty impressive. Like we've pointed out before, this is a division where a lot of wear and tear around your 33rd, 34th birthday. You maybe do the Davidson Figueiredo thing and try your luck up a division.
Now they go up 2 divisions.
And part of me says, well, yeah, Horiguchi couldn't compete at, he's too small to compete at 135 in the UFC, but he could block Petr Yan or Moral Dvalishvili's jump shot. They're all about 5'6". Like, anyway, as far as this fight goes, Horiguchi appears to have the weight cut back to 125 pounds lockdown. As long as that is the case and his physical gifts don't start to fall off, he really is probably better than Albazi everywhere. And that's even assuming that Albazi is in tip-top shape after all of his health issues. So I see this like you do. I think Horiguchi is probably in control of this fight the whole time. Albazi's very competitive early on. He's still a well-rounded, smart, defensively sound fighter who has been pretty good at keeping things at a deliberate pace and not letting fights get away from him. But I think this one starts to get away from him as it goes along. Horiguchi just has so much big fight experience, so much, long fight experience. He's a builder. Like, leaving aside the fact that, Sergio Pettis spin fisted him to death at the end of the fight. Normally it's Horiguchi who is building and moving further ahead on people as the fight goes along.
I knew you were going to mention you love Sergio Pettis.
Dude, like,
that's your boy.
It's great. Like Sergio Pettis is a lot of fun. But I'm not going to be different for the sake of being different here. I'm going to call it the same. I think Horiguchi gets to finish in the third round, and while he could certainly get the TKO, I'm going to say he gets the sub as well. So give me Horiguchi by third round submission, and he's getting real close to the top of Sean Shelby's speed dial at that point.
Yeah, can we just talk about this for a real second before we move on to the main event? Like, how it was great. Like, Horiguchi going to Rising, going to Bellator, the run he had going against, Asakura and all these, Manal Kopp and these other guys. But how much of a shame that, we saw him fight Demetrius Johnson in 2015, and it was like a little too much too soon for him. But like, how much of a shame that we didn't get to see them fight in, say, 2018. And then the rest of the video, we didn't get to see him against Joseph Benavidez and Henry Cejudo and Figueiredo and Moreno and all these guys. Like, what a shame that was.
Completely agreed.
The Moreno fight could still happen, but not the same. I'm super excited to see him fight the rest of the guys. Van, Pantoja, but
I see.
It's a shame.
When I think back to Horiguchi's fight with Demetrius Johnson, it makes me think of Floyd Mayweather versus Canelo Alvarez, where he took on Canelo just way too early for Canelo.
Yeah.
Floyd was the master at fighting his best opponents too early or too late.
Yeah, a little bit like Matt Hughes versus George St. Pierre 1.
What if we'd gotten a 3-fight trilogy between Horiguchi and Johnson?
I know. Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah. Like, it's incredible that Horiguchi has accomplished as much as he has in this sport, and we're still talking about what might have been about him. That's kind of a wild thought.
Yeah.
But
true.
yeah, I'm with you on that one. All right. You ready for this main event?
Him and Henry Cejudo would have been really fun. Like,
oh my goodness.
In their primes. That would have been really fun.
I mean, Horiguchi has been at American Top Team forever. I have the feeling that he and Pantoja know who's the better fighter.
Oh yeah.
Like, I've never heard anything, but they have to have trained and sparred together.
Oh my God. Imagine just sitting there just watching those guys go at it.
Yeah. There was like 9 years where they were fighting on the opposite side of the world. Like, why wouldn't they train together?
Yeah. There was
like,
this guy,
we're never going to fight each other. There's
this guy I used to train with, great, like the most complete opposite of me, like super humble guy, soft spoken, not me at all, but we would train together. And on the feet, it was fairly even. On the ground, I had the advantage wrestling on him. Like, I had the advantage in wrestling on everybody, but he was always like hard to hold. Like, for a guy who didn't wrestle, he was like hard to hold down and super fun. Like, I always knew like I was relentless. Like, I knew like he'd stop one takedown, we get the second, third one, whatever. But I think we were both similar weight classes, and I think we both knew I would win if we fought. But I didn't want that fight. Like, I'll tell you right, like, it was not going to be easy. Like, it was like, fuck, dude, he's tough. But we used to beat the shit out of each other in training, so it's not like. But yeah, I was like, fuck, man, I want to. His name was Tom Pefferitz. He only fought one. I mean, all of us really only fought like one time. He was freaking good. Just that's like annoying, the annoying guy. Like, I take you down like I take everybody down. He'd be like, the one guy get back up. I'm like, fuck, dude, Tom, you're not supposed to get back up. Like, no one gets up when I take him down. I take him back down again. He stop a takedown. I got to shoot 2 or 3 times. Like, what the fuck, Tom?
With that, we come to the main event of UFC Fight Night 266, a men's bantamweight clash between Mario Bautista and Vinicius Oliveira. Bautista, the 32-year-old Arizona native, is 16-3 overall. He's 10-3 in the UFC. He's coming in off a loss. He fought most recently at UFC 321 back in October, where he dropped a unanimous decision to Umar Nurmagomedov. That snapped an 8-fight win streak for him that had brought him very gradually into the fringes of the title picture. He wants to get back into the win column here, prove that he is still a factor in that picture against the red-hot rising Brazilian, Vinicius Oliveira, 30 years old, 23-3 overall. A perfect 4-0 since joining the UFC out of Season 7 of Dana White's Contender Series. He fought twice last year, winning a unanimous decision over Said Nurmagomedov in February, and then at UFC 318 in July, another unanimous decision, this time over Kyler Phillips. Oliveira, having beaten 3 top 15-ish quality opponents in a row, now gets the step up to a top 8 or 7-ish opponent in Bautista, and the odds reflect that. Bautista is your favorite here. He's minus 185, Oliveira plus 155 coming back. Mario Bautista is never, ever, ever, ever going to get enough credit for how good he is. And I know exactly why. Like, he's genial. He's easy to talk to. He's an intelligent guy, but there's no sizzle in terms of the personality. There's no nickname. As much as I hate nicknames, sometimes even having a bad one, it's something memorable. His fights are always interesting, but most bantamweight fights are interesting. Like, just because of that, Bautista has been bubbling along the lower reaches of the top 10 for a couple of years now. I mean, he was on an 8-fight win streak, and just, he wasn't getting the huge push. Just sometimes, I guess it's not enough just to be a fundamentally sound guy that does everything at least pretty well and wins all the fights he should. But I mean, that's what Bautista has done. Oliveira, he turned heads pretty quickly. I mean, he's got kind of a unique look. I mean, he looks like a fighter from a video game with his like crazy haircut and his like insane like V-taper physique. He's an explosive guy. He's gotten some gnarly knockouts. He stands to gain a lot more if he wins here. Just again, because of the sizzle, because of the upside. I started looking into this fight kind of expecting that I would end up picking the upset. But you know what? It's why I led this off by saying nobody ever gives Mario Bautista enough credit. Like,
yeah, he's good.
And Oliver, he's been the goods. Like, when you land in the UFC and you win 3 in a row in your first 4 fights against Ricky Simon, Said Nurmagomedov, and Kyler Phillips, you are the real deal. Like, there's no smoke and mirrors. Vinicius Oliveira is already a top 15 guy. But having said that, I feel like he's trading on his power, speed, explosion a lot. He has a high energy fight style that, even though he's won all of his fights in the UFC, we've seen him get a little tired. We've seen him slow down a little bit. And I don't think any of those things are going to happen to Bautista. I know what Bautista is going to come out and do. He's going to come out. He's going to start kicking the legs. He's going to use good footwork. He's going to probably shoot a takedown in the first 4 minutes when Oliveira least expects it. And whether he gets the takedown or not, it's going to affect how Oliveira approaches the rest of the fight. He's not going to give him anything easy. Bautista, I mean, he can be hittable. I can see Oliveira clipping him, but as hard as Oliveira hits, his one-shot knockouts are the huge things, like a flying knee or something. He could clock Bautista with a couple of nice punches, and Bautista would be okay. So give me Mario Bautista to get back on track here with a win that's probably going to age pretty well when Oliveira goes on and wins 4 more in a row after this. But give me Bautista to win a decision here. I see it maybe a 49, 46, 48, 47 type thing where he has a little trouble early, but really takes off and is rolling downhill by the end of this fight. I'm interested to see, assuming we get there, what Vinicius Oliveira looks like in rounds 4 and 5, because we've seen him tired in round 3. Like, yeah, give me Bautista to kind of win this going away.
Yeah, and fitness, he hasn't been tired recently. Way when he first joined the UFC, he would get tired. Yeah. His cardio has actually been pretty great recently. Bautista, like you're breaking down Bautista, like he doesn't stand out. Like if he was, he's in a photo of a bunch of fighters, you just like scroll right by him, you wouldn't notice him. He's if he was a color, he would be like beige. You know what I mean? Like, okay, like no one's favorite color is beige. But no, it's a nice color.
This is no insult to him, because again, I just picked him to win, and I think he's a really damn good fighter. But if you show up at the gym and he's in a room and like Kyler Phillips and Sean O'Malley are off in other corners doing something, you're going to assume he's like the tall boy.
Yeah. And they're not watching him sparring. You're watching O'Malley. Yeah. You're watching Kyler Phillips. What he does good. I mean, he's constantly moving. He's constantly working. He uses pressure well. I've said this before about him. Like he gets that bad rap because of the Jose Aldo fight, but like that's the exception of the way he fights. Like he usually moves forward, a little bit of fearless, where he just kind of walks through getting hit, and he has nice volume, technically sound with feints and good footwork to kind of keep his range, cuts angles well. He's got quick hands, nice straight right. He's good at slipping shots and then countering. One of his favorite things he likes to do, which is so different. I mean, he likes to slip in an uppercut. He beat up Patchy Mix with body shots. I'd say he's got plus power. Like he's not known for like knockout power, but he hurts guys. Good stepping knees, big kicking game, hard calf kicks. Though he did abandon his calf kicks against Ricky Simon. He'll close the distance and grind his opponent in the clinch. Everyone always thinks of the Jose Aldo fight, but in a weird sense, he doesn't get enough credit for being able to just muscle Jose Aldo to be in that position where Jose Aldo couldn't get off the cage. He's a good wrestler. I mean, hit Brian Keller with this crazy foot sweep. He suplexed Guido Canetti. Gets the fight to the ground. Nice control. He's got 6 subs on his record. His takedown defense is still question mark to me. Like Umar taking him down, whatever. But it wasn't great against Damon Blackshear, though I think Blackshear's a little underrated, and Ricky Simon, but it was much improved against Patchy Mix. Oliveira, if Oliveira was a color, he'd be like neon green, or neon orange. And he is much better than what I originally thought. I thought he was going to wash out in the UFC. I thought, this guy's fun and wild, but like that's not going to work. He fights behind an incredible pace, and I thought the same thing. Like he's going to gas out, and that's going to be, he'll be fun for 1 minute, and then we'll see him gas out, a little like early Michel Pereira kind of style. But he fights with incredible pressure. He's at this unorthodox, throws from weird angles. He fights out of both stances. He's super wild. He was insanely wild against Kyler Phillips, but then suddenly tightened up some blows, and those are the ones that were connected. He has huge power. He connects. He has 16 TKOs. Now, he will load up and try to end the fight with every single punch. He kicks a lot, blasts body kicks, hard calf kicks, throw some spinning attacks. He'll go flying, like his flying knee of Bernardo Sopage is like one of the scariest ones I've ever seen. He eats a lot of shots for a top tier guy, and that's concerning. A lot of that because he puts his chin out and he keeps his hands low and dares you to swing at him. And he is willing to land, your shot for one of his huge haymakers. What I'm impressed was when like Ricky Simon hit him and he would come back with big combinations. Now he only has 2 subs on his record, but his takedown defense was very impressive against Saeed Nurmagomedov against Ricky Simon. When he's taken down, he just pops right back up. He'll be on the gas, and I really thought he'd gas out on the fights, but his cardio has been pretty incredible. So I like Oliveira. I mean, he's so much fun. He's definitely like. People ask me this before, and we've talked about this before. Like, I really don't root for who to win. I always root for what would be the more fun thing to talk about. Oliveira would be the more fun thing to talk about, no
Yes.
doubt. Like the UFC is rooting for Oliveira. They're hoping this is his breakout moment. He has he has a lot of Gene Silver in him, kind of.
Oh, that's a good call. Yeah.
I want to pick Oliveira, but when you're painting your kitchen, you're painting your living room, you're painting it beige. You're not painting it neon orange. You're not painting it bright green. Batista's too smart. I actually think Batista's going to close the distance. I think he's going to clinch Oliveira a lot. I think he's going to try to zap the power from him by grappling a lot early. I think he'll calf kick from distance, trying to kick the legs, trying to take the power from Oliveira that way. I think Oliveira I don't think he ever gets going. I think he never really gets to implement his game plan. He might have some moments where he throws big flurries, but I don't think he's going to have these where he's going balls to the wall for 3 minutes straight. I think Batista slows him down. After I just said he has great cardio, I think Batista's strategy is going to slow him down. Oliveira never gets his game going, and I think Batista wins a decision, a very heavy wrestling strategy.
And there you have it. The Sherdog Radio Network preview for UFC Fight Night 266, Bautista versus Oliveira, also known as UFC Vegas 113. I have been Ben. He has been Keith. If this is your first time watching or listening to one of our previews, first of all, thank you. We hope you enjoyed it. We stayed pretty on task this time, but normally speaking, we think we bring a mix of in-depth analysis and occasional story time or humorous asides that is pretty unique in this industry. Please do like, subscribe. Neither of those things cost you anything. They allow us to keep bringing you this content free of charge, makes our bosses happy. Drop us a comment. Keith and I both man the comment section. We'd love to hear your take on these fights. We each picked a couple of upsets, but if you think we left any money on the table, let us know, because if you're right and we're wrong, we will give you your flowers on the recap. You just need to come and collect them. We are live on the Sherdog YouTube page right after the main event. Keith takes the captain's chair. We'll talk about all 12 of these fights in reverse order, from the headliner on down to the curtain jerker, talking about what was good, what was bad, what was surprising, what was controversial. There's always something. Talking about what's next for the notable winners as well as losers, and talking with you. The live chat is open that whole time, so we're taking your questions, your comments, and your hot takes in real time. We have a growing community of friends that hang out with us after the fights. We would love to see you there. Between now and then, thank you once again for listening. Enjoy the rest of your week, and by all means, enjoy these fights.